welcome back. It's Thirsty Thursday, so go ahead and grab a drink with me and I'll show you how I made 2, technically 3, Pride celebration wreaths for our front door. So for this project, we were given a bunch of mesh and ribbon by Ryan's grandma a little while ago, and I have never been very successful in using mesh before. Actually, honestly, I've never had a lot of use for it, but since we have all of it and I really want to utilize what we have here at home, I had this idea to create the wreath for our front door as a celebration for June, which is Pride Month. And I just thought that it would just be a really fun and unique challenge for me because I have never been very good at making wreaths before, which is crazy because I always buy a bunch of stuff to make wreaths. I just am never very good at actually making them. But I'm so glad that I went ahead and tried to make these because I think they came out really, really well. So I actually found this really cute tutorial. I found it on Pinterest, so I'll link it down below. They actually have a YouTube channel and a website, and their company is really cool. They have like these wreath forms where you can buy it, and they have a step-by-step on how to add your mesh to these boards to create these really pretty flowers. And so I didn't have time to order those boards, so I kind of DIY'd a way for me to do it with things that I had around the house, and a lot of these things I actually got at the Dollar Tree, and like I said, the mesh was gifted to us by Ryan's grandma. So my forms for the wreaths are actually paper plate holders from the Dollar Tree. And the first wreath that I'm working on here, I just kind of went for it. I used a couple of the techniques that I found on YouTube, and like I said, I'll make sure to link all of those down below. And I just kind of was winging it. I was trying to do each layer of petals, the colors of the rainbow, the pride flag, and I wanted to make sure, I don't know what I was wanting to make sure of. This was just very new for me, totally different. Like I said, I've never been very good at making wreaths before, so it was kind of a learning experience for me, and definitely something very different. But I'm super excited that I went ahead and did it. So the mesh that I'm making or cutting up here, I cut into 10 by 10-ish size squares / triangles. Mesh is very difficult to work with if you don't know what you're doing, and I clearly do not know what I'm doing. So I did a bunch of cutting, and then I was placing in as I was cutting. So the second time around, it actually came out a little bit better because I planned a little bit better, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. But this wreath that I'm making to begin with is actually based off of one that I found online that kind of looks like a little sunflower. Go ahead and grab that drink, click like and subscribe, and then I can cheers. Alrighty, so let's keep going. So like I was saying, I made this flower based off a sunflower that I found online that is super adorable. And they basically took the square and gathered it, you see as I'm gathering it right there, from corner to corner, which created these triangle type shapes, or diamond actually, I guess, but the petals look a little pointy down at the end, and then you kind of gather it at the bottom, at the base of that square, and put it through with zip ties. So at first I was trying to avoid using the zip ties, as you saw whenever I first started this, but I went ahead and decided it was the best course of action. It is the way that I saw it done online, I wasn't a huge fan to begin with of using the zip ties, but I just feel like it's a kind of a waste of plastic that way. I'm notorious for keeping everything because I think I'm gonna find uses for it. And here I am reminding you to like and subscribe, and we'll go ahead and cheers to that. Alrighty, and we'll just keep on going. Alrighty, and then there's me putting in the center of that wreath. Just finishing up, and then I got back into it the next morning. I wanted to try to make a second wreath, and my plan for this one, first of all, I planned a lot better. I didn't cut as I went. I kind of tried to plan out how many pieces of mesh I would need, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I tried to double up my mesh because I wanted to make it like really thick looking, and I didn't want it to be too transparent, and some of the mesh that I was using was very, very transparent. So by doubling up on a couple of them, it really helped to give it a more solid look. So like I said, I went ahead and made sure to cut all my pieces ahead of time this time, but I did a different folding technique. And I kept pushing through that folding technique thinking that it was gonna work, because the first couple ones I was like, oh, I don't know, this doesn't look right, but I vaguely remembered a tutorial that I watched. It was like, it's gonna look weird, but when you get to the end, it'll all look great. And I thought that was gonna happen, so I got all the way through this this wreath, and I absolutely hated it. I couldn't get it to work. I tried using fishing line to kind of gather it all together and make it look nice, and it just was not coming out the way I wanted it to. See, I even used a ring from another project that I had laying around, and it just wasn't working, so I hopped on YouTube and found a tutorial that I liked, and found that I was using the wrong petal for the flower that I was trying to do. So figured out how to make the correct shaped petal and went ahead and did it that way. Now, I'm not a huge fan of, one, wasting time, two, wasting resources. It really killed me to cut off all of those zip ties that I had just put on, and because I don't mind reusing the mesh, but the zip ties I can't reuse once I had already cut them all down and zipped them up and stuff. So that kind of killed me, but got to get over it, Brittany. It happens. But I went ahead and did the correct technique, and I'm so glad that I buckled down and just bit some of my pride down and got rid of those zip ties. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan. I hate wasting things, and I hate doing things wrong. I like doing things right the first time so things don't get wasted, but it is a learning process, and it's totally okay that I messed up. And I have to keep reminding myself of that. Anyway, for the second, or I'm calling it my second wreath because that second one didn't really count. The way that I was folding these petals, I was taking a corner to corner to make the square a diamond, and then it created an arch in the mesh, because the mesh has like a foil to it, so it's not exactly super sturdy, so you're not going to have like a really hard triangle when you pull those together. It creates like this little rounded arch, and then you slip those through the zip ties and pull them through the zip tie to make sure you get the size that you want. And then I ended up cutting off the bulk after the zip tie. Not a lot of the tutorials called for that because they were making bulkier flowers, but I liked doing it this way because I wanted less bulk in the middle of my flower. So I did end up having to cut a couple of extra pieces just because I miscounted the first time because I made the wrong type of petals. but there it is. So you can see that little arch that I make. And same thing, I added the purple, then the blue, then the green, then the yellow, and then the orange, and finally the red center for that flower. So for the orange and the red, I didn't actually have to double up because they were slightly different texture mesh than the other colors that I had. But like I said, I wasn't looking to go out to buy anything because these were given to us, and I want to try to utilize as much of the things that we have here at home to make crafts before we go out and buy anything. And I had to finagle. I was trying to figure out exactly how I wanted to get that middle piece in, because like I said, a lot of the tutorials online were using different type of bases. So I had to figure out how I was going to get that center piece in there, because if you can see that paper plate holder has a solid center. I guess I could have drilled like a hole or something through it, or cut a hole through it, but I had already I'm like, at this point, I just wanted to finish this wreath. What was, I thought, going to be a 30-minute project, again, turned into 2 hours, which is kind of the story of my life, right? So I ended up trimming all of my little excess little pieces. I went ahead and cleaned up, and then I put a little black piece of felt on the back of my wreaths because I was putting this on the back of my, or sorry, I'm gonna put these on my front door, and I don't want them to scratch up my door or the paint on the walls if we decide to hang them up somewhere else, just because of all those little zip ties that are there. And then I added a little bit of hot glue to the middles. So this is what the flower on the outside of the house looks like. I think it came out super cute. I went ahead and put the sunflower style wreath outside, and it's hanging out on our front porch. And then I went ahead and put the rose style wreath on the inside of the house, just because it's so pretty, so cute, and really I don't use the front door all that often, so I get to see this every single day. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Happy Pride Month. Bye.